Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this event entitled Reach Out, a webinar on science communication. My name is Silvia Muccelli. I'm affiliated with Chalmers University of Technology in Gothenburg, Sweden, which is a partner of the HybridNeuro project. The project is founded by the European Union and UK Research and Innovation. It's coordinated by the University of Maribor, which I'm visiting today, and it includes in the consortium Chalmers, along with the UPC from Barcelona and Imperial College London. HybridNeuro stands for hybrid neuroscience based on cerebral and muscular information for motor rehabilitation and neuromuscular disorders. And the project includes a research component on the topic of hybrid neuroscience, but also a lot of training activities, such as summer schools, workshops, and webinars. And most of these activities already took place because this is the last year of the project. We have, for instance, 7 webinars, and you can find all material available online. And today we will have our 8th seminar on science communication. For this, I'm very happy to introduce today's speakers, Jenny Palm and Daniel Karlsson, both at the Chalmers Communication Divisions. They are experts on communication, so we very much look forward to learn from them about science communication. This is the agenda for today, but Jenny will get back to details on that. So the seminar will be recorded and posted on the project website and YouTube channels. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat during the seminar, and Jenny and Daniel will be able to answer. I hope you will enjoy this webinar, and with this, I hand the floor to Jenny and Daniel for their talk. Thank you all for attending.
So thank you very much for that introduction, Silvia. And thanks for having us here today and talk about a subject that we feel very passionately about, that is science communication and how to communicate research to target groups outside academia. And just to be clear, this is a brief introduction. And if you want to dive in deeper in any of the topics that we touched on today, just get back to us afterwards, and we will ask all your questions. So this is the setup today. And so let's just get through this together so we know what we'll be talking about. We'll start by talking a bit about what science communication really is, just to be on the same page, everyone. And after that, we move on and talk about the different logics. Science communication and writing for, let's say, a scientific publication differs very, very much, and we'll touch a bit about that. And after that, we'll wrap up the theory part with messages. How do we get people's attention? And we will give you some real-life examples to help you break through the information noise. As you know, we are on a pretty tight schedule today, so we don't think there will be time to do the practice, I'm afraid. But if that happens, we're running out of time. We will talk you through it, and then you can practice it on your own afterwards. And you can also get back to us. We will write our emails in the slides, so you can get back to us with any questions whatsoever. And speaking of questions, we won't have a specific sort of question session. We would really like you to to ask all your questions as soon as they pop into your heads. And don't be shy. No silly questions here. Everything is welcome. You can write anything you want, and we will try to keep an eye on the chat. Me, Daniel, and we have another colleague, Ann-Sophie, that will help us with that. So don't be shy. And I think it's important for you to sort of really get involved, because you will get bored to death just listening to us rambling away here for an hour or so. So please ask all your questions. Right, so if there aren't any burning questions right now, I'll hand over to Daniel, and you will present what is science communication, really?
Yes. So, hello and welcome everyone. As researchers and scientists, you communicate your research every day, right? You do it with your colleagues, you do it in scientific articles, you do it in lecture halls, at conferences, etc. And that is within the academic scope, of course. So what we will talk about in this training is what is outside of academia, or at least not people that are in the same field as you are. And this is more linked to what is called popular science. There's a number of different ways that you can define science communication. We choose to follow one definition that is from a Swedish study, a Swedish report that was done a few years ago for the Swedish Research Council. And this report was actually called I Want to, but I Don't Have the Time. And I don't know about you guys, but I know that a lot of researchers have this feeling that science communication is something that a lot of researchers really want to do, but you often feel that you don't have the time, or sometimes maybe not the resources or the tools to do this. But we hope with this training today, we hope to give you at least some kind of understanding of why it's good with the science communication, and also give you some tools how to do it in a smart way and in a way that is adapted to your audiences. And hopefully you will feel a little bit more confident after this training. So, to the question, what is science communication? So this is one definition. Yes. So it's to communicate research outside of the scientific community, okay? And to adjust the communication to the people that you are talking to. And to understand who are you talking to, what is your target group, and how can you reach them? So, if we move on to the next one. Yeah, so there are different kinds, different categories of science communication. There are no like strict boundaries between these three. It's more like a spectrum that you can move between. And actually it's depending on if the communication is going in just one direction or in more directions. So if you talk about information, that is more the one-way street, right? So that you write a press release and present that to the world. You can write some kind of opinion pieces. You can give lectures, etc. So that is one-way information. If we move into the dialogue part, that is where you also have room for interaction. Of course, with the lecture, you can always have a question sessions afterwards, and then it becomes a dialogue session, of course. But typically, you look at things like science festival activities. You have these science cafes sometimes. There's activities like borrow a researcher at companies, for instance. So various kinds of outreach activities where you have two-way communication. And the third part is what is called co-creation. And that is when your audiences actually get involved in your research as well. So they can actually involve and interact with your research. For instance, it can be if you do medical studies, that you have some kind of patient participation for identifying ethical issues, for instance. It can be to help identify new research areas that you haven't thought of yourself. It can be contributing to data collection. So there are various ways that you can actually co-create research with the general public or some specific target groups. We will mostly talk about the first part here, information, today. A little bit about dialogue, not so much about co-creation, because that is a little special case.
And it's hard to do digitally.
Yes. So.
Moving on.
Yep.
Well, unsurprisingly, this is a topic that is very close to our hearts as communication officers. And we'd like to think that it is a topic that is close to your hearts as well, since you're here today. And but we would like to have your perspective on this question. Why is science communication important? So we would like you to reflect on this question for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then write your answers in the chat. And don't overthink this. There's no wrong answers here. We just really like your perspective on things. So from now and let's say 3 minutes, reflect on the question, why is science communication important? And write your thoughts in the chat, please. Okay, thank you very much for your answers. I will read some of them. Well, actually, I can read all of them. Generate interest in the research topic. Building trust in science, very important. Inform people who are not researchers about what we do. To inform also broader community about research. To make your research visible for a broad group of people. Scientific research is for the betterment of the society, and hence the communication to the public in a simpler way is important. To motivate the next generation of researchers, to make young generations curious about science, make research more accessible, general public awareness rising about technology, solutions, tools, etc. Spark curiosity and inspire. These are really great answers. Maybe we should just pack up and go home because they already know everything about this. Normally, when we give this introduction, we give it to science researchers here at Chalmers. And in that context, we talk about how we as a public university, we are bound by law to communicate the research that we conduct here at Chalmers. And to show the wider society where their tax money go. And we're not entirely sure how it works across the rest of Europe, but even if there is no legal requirements, there are still plenty of good reasons to engage in science communication. And you have mentioned quite a few. We often talk about science communication and benefits of the science communication on like 3 levels: for the individual, for the university, and advantages for the society at large. And As Daniel mentioned, a few years back, there was this really ambitious report about how researchers in Sweden think about science communication. And the researchers who can find the time to be engaged in science communication find it very, very useful. They talk about creating this really positive cycle when you as a researcher and your research is seen and heard in the public discourse and in a positive way. The more you are seen and heard, the better benefits you get. And several researchers talked about if you are seen and heard, it's easier to make collaborations, both with researchers, maybe even within your own university, but also researchers on other universities, and not the least the industry. And we have even talked to researchers that say that if seen and your work had been made accessible through like media covers, it's even easier to get grants. So quite a lot of advantages and benefits for the individual researcher. The second level is for the university. And we, like I guess all university in the entire planet, want to attract the best students, the best teachers, the best researchers. And for that to happen, you need to communicate what you do, because as you are well aware of, the competition is fierce. So the more voices from Chalmers, in our case, that are seen and heard, the more visibility we get. And the visibility makes it easier for us to, let's say, recruit the best researchers. And so that's one benefit for the university. Another benefit is also the same as on the individual level, about collaboration. If you're not talking about your research, no one knows about it. So as soon as you start talking about research, you're opening up for new collaboration, even on the university level. And for the society then, what benefits? Well, you could say that you as an expert in your field, if you don't talk about your research, someone else will. Just because you are not saying anything, it won't be quiet. And we can't influence what other people say about a certain question. And someone else can be, everything from troll factories to someone running a fake news website, spreading rumors and speculation. But it can always be like valid research, other researchers from competing universities. So it is important for you to bring the best to the table, so to speak, for spreading knowledge in your field and making this benefiting the society as at large. Right. So now, Daniel, you will turn things upside down.
Yes. So now that we know why it's important, we need to look at then how can we do good communication then? And to start with, you really need to understand the differences between how you present your research in the academic sphere and how you do it in a more public sphere. So there are some very different logics to this, and we will take a look at this. And this is why we have this pyramid upside down here. Because, Jenny, yes. So normally when you present your research, you normally have very complex subjects, and you want to start really from the beginning to tell your story. You want to describe it in detail, and you want to start with all the relevant background information. You explain the background, you explain how you've done it in methods, and then eventually you come to the results and you start a discussion, and then you have a conclusion of some kind at the end. This is the way a lot of research and presentation of research is done in thesis or articles, etc. Of course, this is a little bit of simplification, of course, because you always have like a title that can be short and say something already from the beginning. You can have an abstract, of course, that says something in a very short format. But still, this is basically what research presentation looks like. And so to flip this all around, because that's what we need to do when we speak to media or the general public, because they don't have the prior knowledge, and you really need to get straight to the point, to the tip of this pyramid. So you need to put the most important findings, your conclusions and results, deliver them up front directly. And you really need to do this in a very, very short way. So this is sometimes called or referred to as an elevator pitch. Like you have to say something, tell something to someone in a very short matter of time, like just one sentence, two sentences, that's all you get. So what do you want your audience to leave the room with? What kind of information do you want them to have in a very short format? So you start with that. You start with the conclusion, and then you start building. Why is this important? Both in detail, but also in a larger sense. Yeah. Why is this important to the society and people in general? And after that, you can start building the background and detailed results, etc. So remember that there's really two very important questions to answer. What have you managed to do? The conclusion, and why is this unique, and why is this important? Mm-hmm. That's really
who benefits from your research.
Yes, yes.
And that's what we call a message.
Exactly.
Den kommer efteråt.
Okay. Yeah, so the takeaway message is what we want the audience to take with them afterwards. So here it's just the really, really most important parts. We don't provide like all the background information or all the context. Now, it's important to point out that when simplifying things like this, it doesn't mean that we simplify them to a point where the results get invalid or inaccurate. But you need to think of it like you cannot present the whole picture up front. You need to build this picture a little piece by piece.
Yeah, it's not lying or cheating.
No, absolutely not. Just not telling the entire story at once. You have to build the story. Yes. Okay. When speaking about messages, there are some tricks that you can use to build these bullseye messages. So, like I talked about, really about prioritizing. Specify what you want to express and prioritize the most crucial points. And then clarify. Be very clear about your meaning and use a plain language. Avoid these topic-specific expressions and words. Avoid long sentences, for instance. Keep it easy and simple for people to understand. illustrate. This is a very powerful tool, actually. And this can be done visually, like we have here in a picture. It can be a photo, it can be a diagram, etc. It can, if you are in a physical setting, if you have a public lecture, for instance, you can use props of different kinds. Like you can show them things. And why not use Lego bricks, for instance? That's a really good prop for showing things. It can also be done in words, like you can paint a picture with words, right? You can tell a story, build a story. You can use things like metaphors to say something in a way that people can relate to more everyday things in their lives. But of course, it needs to be understandable and relevant in the context, of course.
So another way of thinking about this message is to imagine them as cake. So if you want your target audience to be interested in your cakes or your research results, in this case, you need to present the most eye-catching parts first. Literally, the icing on the cake must be shown first to get the curiosity, to get people interested, to get people attracted to wonderful research results. You cannot start by talking what kind of flour you used or how you grounded the wheat. You can tell them that, but not in the first sentence, because you will lose your audience by that. Icing on the cake is a good metaphor for messengers. And Daniel, you talked a bit about it, this plain language. And I need to tell you some hard truth, because no one is as eager to hear about our research as we are to talk about it. We love to talk about our research because we find it very interesting, and to make other people also think it's interesting and make them curious about our research, we need to be precise. We can't use any specialized terms, because in doing so, we exclude people. And that's the opposite what we want to do. We want to include people. If we use specialized terms, we need to explain them in the more plain language. So we say we will write in a polished, simple, and understandable way. And we, as a public university, it's a question about democracy. If we publish texts that no one understands, that is a democracy issue. We need to make sure that everyone can understand what we are publishing. And the question that often comes up in this context is the question of open science. And science communication and open science are closely connected, but there are differences. Open science is about making research accessible, mainly to other researchers, but also to the society at large. But science communication is about translating that research to a broader audience. Just because you make something accessible doesn't necessarily mean that it's interesting or even understandable. So science communication is about translating research into for a wider group of people. And how do we translate the research language into a more common, plain language?
We can use Google Translate?
Yes.
No, maybe not. So we will now take a look at some practical examples, how this has been done. These are examples from Chalmers. So we will try to a little bit step by step go through and see how we can do this translation, so to speak.
And feel free to ask questions.
Yeah.
We remind about that. Please ask questions.
Yes. So here we have an example of a scientific, a title of a scientific paper that was published in Advanced Materials. And we will take a look at how this was transferred into a headline of a press release that was made about this research. So the title of the scientific publication, it was Unveiling the Multifunctional Carbon Fiber Structural Battery. So this is something about batteries, right? And to really create a hook here, to get something that people will understand and remember.
A message.
A message, exactly. We need to take out two things from this. We need to bring out the news. What is the novelty thing here? And also, how will this affect people or affect industry or society or some kind of technology? It will have some kind of effect. Okay. So this was the result. This was the headline of the press release. So we say that world's strongest battery. Okay, that is something new. And this paves way for light, energy efficient vehicles. So now we have explained the effect of this new type of battery. So these two things, what's new and how will affect. If you can cram that into your headline of a press release in this case, then you have done it right, we think.
Absolutely.
Yes. So now we will, there are some more examples here in our presentation. I will not go through them now because we need to move on, but you can take a look at them. And also you can probably find some examples at your own universities. Take a look at the press releases there as well and compare them to scientific papers. And yeah, it's a really interesting training to do that, an exercise to do that. But we will now dig deeper into another example, also from Chalmers. And this was a piece of news that was released earlier this year. And it was a very complicated matter, at least we think so. Quantum technology. And I guess for you guys as well, it's probably something that is out of your scope. But when you have a really complicated matter, you need to explain a lot of more things. But we will take a look at how you can do that. Yeah. So here on the left side, we have the article that was published in Nature Physics. And if we take a look to the right, we have what became the press release from Chalmers. So you can see that the title went from thermally driven quantum refrigerator autonomously resets a superconducting qubit.
Easy peasy.
It's even hard to say, right? I don't even really know what a qubit is. I think it's some part of quant stuff. Yeah,
don't ask me.
And here we have translated that into a headline that says, record cold quantum refrigerator paves way for reliable quantum computers. So still, it's still kind of hard, but at least you understand that, okay, the new thing here is that you have this record cold thing, and this will make sure that you can make quantum computers reliable, because that's the problem.
So even if you're not an expert in quantum technology, you can sort of understand this headline. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's good enough when it comes to quantum technology.
Exactly. And just to mention, even if we have this kind of complicated subject, it can reach out really good. So actually this press release reached a potential of 2.6 billion people in reach. So that's really, and it's still going on, still traveling around the world, these news. So yeah, it worked in this case. And to continue, we will dig even deeper in how this entire press release looked like. So first, we have the headline. So that is basically, like we have talked about, this hook that you want people to remember in short. And you need to have all the critical piece of information in here. And then you move on to the preamble. And in just 1, 2, maybe 3 sentences, you want to explain what is the challenge here. Why is it hard to make reliable quantum computers, for instance? You also want to explain the solution in very short, in just a few words, and also what you will win from this, the results. Then you start giving context, and for a complicated matter like this, you need to give much more context than you would normally do.
Yeah.
If this would have been a press release about, let's say, electric cars, you don't have to explain what an electric car is, and most people can understand how it's different from a regular car, right? So, but in this case, you need to give some more background information. So here you can see that you start building that. So what does the reader really needs to know to be able to understand the rest of the news? And then you also add some subheadings that actually summarizes the coming paragraphs. And if you write really good subheadings, you can actually, just by reading the headline, the preamble, and the subheadings, then you get a quite good idea of what this is all about.
And I might add that a well-written subheading also make the reader want to continuing reading your story.
Exactly.
The subheading helps building interest.
Yeah. So if we move on, you see that we build even more of the context by giving the background facts and what is the challenge here. Then you add the solution. What have you actually done? How have you managed to solve this problem? And also to lighten up the language, so to speak, or make it more interesting, you want to add some quotes from the participating researchers. That also gives it a little bit more of a personal touch. And then you move on by explaining the methods, how you did this, and then eventually you wrap up by emphasizing again what you've done here and why this is important, and also the future outlooks, the next steps, what will happen. So this is basically how you build, in this case, a press release. But it's more or less the same, even if you give a lecture or a public lecture or whatever you do.
This is true. This way of building science communication is true to social platform, whatever. You need to remember the pyramid or the upside down pyramid, the most important thing first.
Yes. Okay, any questions so far? Just write them in the chat, or maybe everything is crystal clear.
And as we said in the beginning of the presentation, you are obviously welcome to get back to with questions to us afterwards. I know it can be a bit overwhelming just listening to us like this. And afterwards, if you like, I wonder, what did they mean about this? Just write us an email and we'll get back to you.
Let's move on.
Let's move on, yes. And let's talk a bit about target groups. Now we have touched on what we want to say and how we want to present that message. But we don't want to talk to like just random people. We need to have a defined target groups. and we need to adapt our science communication to that specific target group. To put it simple, a target group is a defined group of people that we want them something. One common thing is for an organization, say, to create a positive perception about that organization. For a university, it can be we need to recruit a certain group, then we have to adapt our communication in relations to that group. And we always have an underlying objective. We always want something from that group. It's not just chit-chat. It's not social talking. It's a pointed communication. And
we have a question here in the chat.
Oh,
Pause
yes.
for 1 second.
Yes.
And I think this refers to like how do you translate into plain language. So the question is from Sylvia, how do you practically do that? You ask the researchers to translate in plain language, or do you interview them and you simplify? And I mean, I guess you mean you as us as communications officers.
That is a really good question. I think mostly that is our job. Our job is to ask all the most naive, silly questions you can even think of. Because if you can explain it to me, I can explain it to others. But if you use really complicated words and jargon and specialized terms that I don't understand, there is in no way that I can translate it into understandable language for someone else. But I think I know my researchers at my department, they are getting used to me and all these crazy questions all the time. So they start to think in those terms. But it takes time and it's hard. And it's hard for us too. It's like when you have been in a topic for a very long time, for like weeks, and just tried to make it understandable, you get lost too. So maybe I have to take my text and go to a colleague and say, could you please read this? Do you understand what it says? Because it's really easy to be like blind for your own way of writing. So it's a communicator's work to do, but I think it's very good for researchers as well. Yeah.
And also I think that it's like everything else, with practice comes perfect, right? So if you train these things and actually use it, you will get a lot better and understand how this works. And just speaking to an audience, or maybe even speaking to children, trying to explain your research to your own children or other children, that's a really good exercise. Because then
that's really hard
to bring it to the basic level, right? So that can be something. And also, of course, we as communications officers, we can also try to like trick you into answering more easily, like you said, asking stupid questions, but also you can say like, how would you explain this to your mother?
Yes.
Right. So you can ask questions like that, and then you will hopefully get a more understandable answer. Unless your mother is in the same type of field, maybe a professor in the same field, then
don't ask your mother.
Work. No. So, okay. Should we move on?
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, she says it makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So a bit more about target groups. These are in no particular orders, just listed. The most, our primary target groups at Chalmers. And I would say these are pretty much common to every university. Decision makers, politicians, industry and partners, school children, media. And when you see it like this, it's quite obvious that you can't speak in the same manner to a, let's say, politician as you do to a school child. You need to adapt to the target group you are talking to. It's like, take Nike as an example. If they launch a new sneaker and they want, I don't know, 18-year-old boys to buy them, they won't even bother with women like me, like 50+ women. We're totally uninteresting. And their entire communication is targeted to that group. Everything they say is relatable to that group. And we're not selling sneakers for obvious reasons, but it's the principle is the same. We have to make it relatable to the one we are talking to.
Yeah.
I think we should move on to
Yes.
Just another thing to think about when you are in science communication.
Exactly. So, channels. So now we've talked about what to say and the message, and we have talked about who we can talk to, the target groups. So now we also need to think about where do we say it. In other words, we need to choose a channel, and choose a channel where we can meet our audience in the right setting. So there are some common university channels that are accessible. So we have already talked a bit about various kinds of media activities. Press releases can be one thing, but there are other ways as well. You have your own university website, right, where you can publish news. You have social media. I suppose that all of your universities have different kinds of social media. So it can be LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And then, of course, you can give public lectures and seminars and much more. There are many, many ways. Can I tell it? And you also see that there are different kinds of communication here. It's everything from written form, like if you do a press release, but there's also a spoken form if you do a lecture. But there can also be like more extensive presentation for an industry partner, for instance, or you can publish much more information on your website for various topics. And remember, again, you need to adapt depending on where you publish your communication. So in the same manner that you need to adapt to a specific target group, you also need to think about the environment of the channel, so to speak. You will not express yourself in the same way on TikTok as you do in a press release. It's obvious, but that is something that you need to think about.
And it's also it's very interesting that you touched on it, that it can start a science communication can start with one type of communication, right, like a press release, and then when you have published that press release, perhaps a TV morning show picks it up and say, "Wow, that's really interesting." And then you have to adapt to that TV show.
Yeah.
And while you're on that TV show, perhaps a industry partner say, "Wow, I didn't know that. But let's talk more about this topic." And then you have adapted yet again to that target group.
Yeah, exactly. Now, these are the common university channels, but don't forget that you also have your own channels.
Yeah.
And also other people's social channels. So LinkedIn, for instance, that's a really good channel these days that you can use as a researcher to reach out. And there it's actually better to use your own accounts because there you build your like professional personal brand and build your network rather than using the university LinkedIn, for instance, or you can combine, of course. And also you can join other people's social channels. If there's a blogger or pods or maybe a YouTuber within your field that is trustworthy and good, then you can join like their channels and their what they do as well. So you can be a guest there. So don't forget about that. But when it comes to social media, maybe there's something we need to talk about as well.
Unfortunately, there, as you probably know, when you publish something in social media, your own, on the university channel, on another researcher colleagues channel or whatever, we need to be ready to discuss. And we need to let people criticize you, to criticize your research. That is something we welcome. It's part of the game, so to speak. But we can never tolerate threats or personal threats. And unfortunately, it happens. And maybe we can, do we have the time? Maybe we can ask a question. Is there anyone out there who has personal experience of being threatened in social media for their research?
It's not very common, maybe.
No, it's not very common.
It does happen, and there are some subjects that are more touchy than others.
More controversial and than others. Environmental aspects, stuff like that. But no answers in the.
Nothing yet. No.
No. Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
We are happy that you haven't received any threats. And
what can you do if you experience that?
Well, we can only talk about what we recommend researchers here at Chalmers to do if they are receiving threats. And it's like, stop talking. You are not expected to keep on arguing or defending yourself in social media. Just stop writing and go to your closest manager and explain the situation. And here at Chalmers, we recommend to get in contact with your communication officer as well. And we sort of make out a plan how to handle it. It depends on the severity of it, obviously, but it's like non-tolerance. You do not have to, you are not supposed to, you don't have any responsibility in that situation to continuing the argument or continuing discussing your research at all.
We hope we don't scare you.
No.
This is not common that it goes this far, but it's still something that is good to keep in mind, because this is part of, unfortunately, of the society today.
Yes.
Well, it comes to good and the bad, right? Yes. With social media.
And I think it's important to stress that it really is uncommon.
Yeah.
We have like hundreds of threads about research on different social medias every day, and it's like very uncommon. I just know a couple of cases on Chalmers over the years. So, but we still have to be aware of that, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about that, or any experience you want to share, or? I can see the chat from here, but
it's silence.
It's silence. Okay, and we're very happy for you, because we don't obviously don't wish you any threats. So this pretty much sums it up. What we have talked about today is what we called communication planning, or the 3 cornerstones in communication planning. What do we want to say? What is our message? What is our message? And who do we want to say it to? That is our target group. And how do I reach them? What channel do I choose to reach them? And this is not, I think it's good, even if you can say this is a communication officer's job to do the communication planning, and it is, obviously. But I think it's good even for you as a researcher just to sort of reflect on these questions. Because if you have a very interesting research and you want, let's say, to make a press release, someone will ask you all these questions anyway. So it's really good if you sort of reflect on them and think a bit about it before you are contacting your media division or your communication officer or whatever your organization is.
Yes.
That's pretty much sums it up.
Pretty much it, yes. Maybe we should open up again for if you have any questions now relating to what we have said. So we have an exercise, but I think we will more present it.
Yes, I think it's...
and you can do it as a homework afterwards. But please think about if you have any questions right now. And like we have said already, sometimes questions pop up later, of course, and you can contact us afterwards as well. But sometimes it's also good if you have questions, because other people might have the same kind of questions. You can address them.
And again, there are no silly questions.
Well, there can be silly questions, but that just makes it more.
Yes.
No, but please just if you have anything, you can write it in the chat, or if you want to unmute and say the question, that's fine now as well. So let's take 1 minute and see if we have something here. So we have one question. Thank you for a great talk. Do all universities in Sweden have dedicated communication officers? I would say yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Question. Yes, I would say that it's most common, at least. Maybe not down to every department or division, but at least on university level, there are communications officers. And maybe if you know about your universities, please tell us.
That would be really interesting.
Do you have communications officers, and how close are they? Are they like sitting in your corridors, or do you feel like they are far away? If you have any experience about that, please let us know.
We can maybe... Oh, another question? I love questions.
Yes. So we have a question here. During PhD or postdoc, we do publish articles, present at seminars and conferences, and also via social network channels. However, let's see. How do we decide which medium and audience group should we target other than their direct academic and industry audience?
I think it's hard to give a principal answer to that. It depends on your specific situation. But maybe if you feel that you have something really interesting that you want to communicate, I would recommend you to get in contact with your media division or your communication department, just to get a feel for it. Like sometimes we think something is really, really interesting, but maybe no one else does. So it feels like you need to sort of discuss this question with someone.
Yeah.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, I would say that it really depends on the subject.
Yeah.
And what can, like we talked before, what kind of effect can this research have? Yeah, it depends.
To get back to the first question there, in Chalmers we are organized in a very specific way. I don't think it's very common to be organized like us. We have a central communications department, and we belong to a division, and we work at a specific department. So I'm at communication and learning in science, and you at technology. Oh, what's your?
Yeah, technology, management, and economics.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not very usual, but we work really closely to our researchers. So we constantly know what's going on in the research area. But I don't think many universities are organized like that.
Maybe not in the same way.
No.
There are normally some kind of function.
Yeah.
So we have a question. Sorry, Fanny, we lost your question there for a little while, but we will bring it up now. So if you want to start communicate more to a public group, do you have any recommendation of how to start? Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. I would say just use the things we have talked about here today. So if you are in this particular kind of research field, what results are you expecting? What kind of groups are affected by your research? They would probably be very interested in hearing more about it. It's about defining your target groups. If you're in quantum technology, or if you're in behavior sciences, you have completely different target groups. And therefore you need to define what is important with your research and who would be interested in listening to it. And yet again, just grab a communication officer and start talking about it. That's the most important thing. Just say, I'm not sure if this is interesting enough for a public group, but I would like to discuss this with you. I'm sure that they will be very interested in doing so. That's our job.
Yeah. And maybe another way of answering it could be like, how do you even start training this? How to speak to a public group? Also, there are usually things like we talked a little bit about science festivals, for instance, and I guess that there are some kind of activities like that in other places in Europe as well. We have one in Gothenburg, and I guess there are, similar events at different places, or even in a smaller setting. And then usually if you attend one of those activities, you have some kind of guidance. You get some help from the people that are arranging these activities. And also you can start maybe just doing this science cafe talk or something. You can start in a small scale just to practice how to speak to a wider audience. So start in a small scale, and then you eventually can scale it up, or try to make like a fake interview. We do these kinds of media trainings So where you actually you have one of the communications officers acting as a journalist. So that can be a good practice as well.
Yeah.
So there are different ways
Yeah.
how to train this and yeah, get into the game, so to speak. Yeah. So we have another question. Oh, this is a good question. So how long does a typical interview between the researcher and communications officer take? Is this typically initiated by researchers or communications officers? And what happens when researcher is not very communicative? Thank you. And how persistent are you when conducting the interview? Yeah.
Do you want to say something?
You can start.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think it's very important to work on your relationships with your researchers. In my case, all the researchers at our department come to me. Now I've published this research, it's about this or that. I think we should do a LinkedIn post about it. And then I ask a lot of questions and we take it back and forth a couple of times. And then I write like a first version of this LinkedIn post or press release or whatever we agree upon. And obviously, the researcher is responsible for making the research facts are okay in the text. But there's sometimes a little bit of give and take.
Yeah.
I often want to make it a bit more simpler than the researcher because they're afraid that, well, if you make it too simple, maybe the meaning get lost. And so it's a negotiation, I say, but a friendly negotiation. We are very seldom like we always can come to agreements.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost the word there.
Absolutely. And yeah, the question of how long it takes, I guess it depends on the subject.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's a very complicated matter or not, then maybe sometimes even you have to make more than one interview. First, maybe you make one shorter interview just to start understanding the subject, and then you maybe need to go back and think about more questions, etc.
That's very usual. When you write your first draft, it's like, I didn't get this. I have to get back and ask more detailed questions.
Yeah. And that also gives you as a researcher an opportunity to think again.
Yeah.
Like, how did I answer that? And maybe I should explain it in another way. So, yeah, that's a dialogue back and forth. I think the question here of what to do when the research is not very communicative, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, everyone can communicate in one way or another, right? So there's always a format that will suit for someone. If someone is better at writing, then maybe or expressing in written words, then maybe it's better to try to do it in a written format. If there's someone that is really good at talking, then maybe you can make a video interview, put it on TikTok or whatever. So it's really also about finding the right format, I think, for the right person.
Right, and we don't force anyone to communicate. If you think it's very uncomfortable to like getting questions from media or being on social media, we won't force you to do that. It needs to be a sort of mutual understanding that the researcher has their part to bring and I have my part to bring, and we make this science communication together. And if that doesn't work, I wouldn't make any. I wouldn't publish anything without the researchers' permission, obviously.
No. But then also, of course, normally you are not alone in your research.
No.
You are a research group. So that is also something you can think about, like who is the spokesperson, or who will you use in this case?
Yeah.
It's not always obvious that you should bring out the
leader,
the professor. Sometimes it's even better to use a junior person also, and you can think about representation and all things like that.
Yes.
So to make it more interesting, so, and also give opportunities to other people, not just that big professor all the time. So yeah.
But in regards to the question about how long time does it take, I know that let's say we talk about a lot about quantum technology here, but it's so complicated. So I'd say I didn't write that press release. A colleague of ours did, and I'm sure she made like both 2 or 3 or 4 interviews. That took hours in interview time just to comprehend what it was about, because it's really, really, really hard, and not many people on this planet understand quantum technology. So that one is really tricky. While an easier subject maybe go for like an interview for half an hour. And so it's very different from different subjects.
Yes. We have another question, and this is actually about how we are organized here at Chalmers. So how many researchers does one communications officer typically help in Chalmers? You mentioned this is organized on department level. So what numbers are we talking about here? So basically we have 1 communications officer per department here, and a department is maybe typically between 100 and 200 people, I would say. Some smaller, some bigger, but that's kind of the number. Of course, it also includes some administrators and things like that. But so I would say maybe 100 researchers for a typical department here. But it varies a lot.
It varies a lot. The entire staff in my department is like 85. So we have like 30 researchers. But I think we are the smallest department on Chalmers.
And I'm one of the biggest. So but then we also have colleagues at like a central communications level. So we have some dedicated press officers as well.
And dedicated social media experts.
Exactly. So we work together with them. So we are like on the ground floor, so to speak, try to find the subjects and talk to and establish these relationships that we talked about. And really try to find good stuff. And then we can bring it up to our colleagues, like the press experts, for instance, and take it from there. So it's it's a process together with other people as well.
So it doesn't mean that you are personally responsible for, like, say, 100 researchers communication. That would be very hard to handle. But you sort of, our job is to find the gold nuggets, and then we take it to our colleagues and say, so how do we publish this? Is this a social media thing? Yeah, maybe LinkedIn, maybe we could tweak it a bit and make an interesting web story or whatever. So we're not alone in that.
No. But I know that it is organized in various ways at different universities.
Yes,
so it can be that you have like just one communications officer doing all the things, everything from interviewing the researcher to writing to publish it in some kind of channel.
Smaller universities or colleges.
But also some bigger universities have that kind of organization that it's more like you do it all person. But I think it's at the most bigger universities you have something. this kind of organization that we have here or similar, I would say. Yeah. So let's see if we have any more questions. Not right now. If we have missed any questions, let us know as well.
So do you think we should just...
Okay, yeah, here we have one more.
Okay.
So we take this final one, and then we can move on just to show the exercise that we have. Yeah. So sorry for this direct question. It is my final question, I promise. Okay, thank you. That's fine. We love the question. So who is paying for your work? Yeah, this is interesting. Do you foresee the communications cost in each project you apply for? Yes, so this is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because like you can say that overall we are paid on what do you say? We have these overhead costs and so it's like in one giant budget, all of this. So normally you don't have to find any special money to do a communication effort of some kind, because it's all included in like the main budget. But
the main budget for the communication department.
Yes, and that is part of the whole university budget, of course.
Yeah.
But that said, there are also projects, I know that, and sometimes, especially if it's a EU project or sponsored in some way by EU, then it can also be that you have requirements for doing special kinds of communication. And then you may also need to set aside a budget and a specific person to do that kind of communication.
Within the research project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the usually it's like when you make press releases and you make movie videos for the social media, or if you make LinkedIn posts, that is not it's not anything that the researchers pay for. That is
the projects,
or the projects. No, it's the communication department.
That said, if you have a budget within a project, then sometimes you can do special stuff that we would not be able to do otherwise.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I know that some research projects have a budget for making a video, for instance, so like a video presentation. So that can be a really good thing if you have some money to spend.
Right.
So yes, so it's both, but like the regular thing we do is paid by the overall budget. Yeah. Okay, so let's just show this exercise.
And we promise you don't have to put any tractor tires. We just, here is your task. So I'll just read it. The background is that Jodie Post is an editor at the British daily newspaper, The Guardian. Every week she receives many excellent proposals for news articles from researchers as yourself who believe the work deserve attention. Jodie Post is highly selective what she approves for publication, and the content that makes it into print must be truly outstanding for the target group. And the target group, then, the readers of the newspaper primarily fall within the age range of 25 to 44, and the majority has a university degree. They are interested in science news, societal development, and pursuing lifelong learning. So that's the background. And the task is you should select a research project and the result from this project that you want to communicate to these readers. And what you need to do is to craft a headline and an intro or a preamble that are compelling enough to convince Jodie Post that your news should be published. Usually we do this in real life, and the researchers sit in groups and discuss this with each other. For obvious reasons, we can't do that now. So we just walk you through this, and if you want to do it at home, please do, and please get back to us with any questions. So
it can be a good exercise anyway.
Yeah.
So if you just want to do it for your own, then do that. And
yes.
If you want feedback from us, then you're most welcome to come back to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we have 3 minutes left. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Yes. And here's our contact details.